Now, about the first sections, listening. Well, my first piece of advice is pay attention when you listen. Don't just hear, which is a passive action, but listen, really listen actively, aiming for both hearing and understanding. This includes the skills of recognizing keywords while you read the questions and your skills in following a talk or following a conversation. These are the sections you have to deal with in the IELTS listening. Each of them is going to be either a conversation or a monologue, and each of them will be slightly different from the other three, since they were designed to test different listening skills. Again, pause the videos to read them more carefully, if you need to, and go to the internet to find books that talk more about what you need to be careful of in each section. That might help you in preparing for the IELTS listening test. Now, these are the things I usually do when I practice listening. Imagine I'm listening to real people speaking in front of me and I'm trying hard to understand them. Read the questions before I play the recording. Pause the recording if necessary. Listen to it again if necessary. Identify the keywords, name, number, long words and phrases. And here are the steps I usually follow when I practice. Please pause the video to read them more carefully or more at ease if you need to. This is just my own suggestion though. You absolutely can have a different approach to the listening test. For example, one of my friends always insists on listening to everything only once because that's how much you are allowed to listen to in the real test. I, however, often find it less scary and more effective for me when I could listen twice when practicing. The choice is up to you, really. There are other things to do with your practice book besides using them to test yourself. For example, try transcribing what you hear and then compare your transcriptions with the audio scripts. This could be a rather tedious task, but if you are patient, there is much you could learn from each transcribing session. Oh, also try reading the audio script after you have finished with the test. Then note down all the new words and new expressions you find in it. Don't just write down what you think is new, but also things you already know but have not been able to use well. Another way to use the audio scripts is to print out that audio script and read it aloud. Compare your pronunciation and intonation with that of the recording. Like you're reading an audiobook. And finally, this is what I find most important. Make a table to compare similar words between the questions booklet and the audio scripts. Because you see, in the IELTS, people often will not use the words you see in the question. They will try to paraphrase it, saying it with different words, with synonyms, to test whether you really understand the recording and you're not just listening for keywords. So, because they use synonyms so often, making a table like this where you can see both the keywords in the questions and the actual words in the recording side by side, your brain will soon learn to predict synonyms when you read a new question. This could also help expand your active vocabulary, so that's killing two birds with one stone, really. Basically, I don't just use the listening book to test myself. I try to get as much from it as possible. There is much to get from a textbook besides just the test. You can also get useful words and expressions, synonyms and paraphrases, pronunciation and intonation, spelling from it as well. And finally, don't just practice for the test. Listen to something in English daily, for fun, as a habit. Train your ears to be familiar with English. You can try listening to English songs, find the lyrics and sing along with the song. Always watch movies with English subtitles. Listening to podcasts and audiobook when exercising or working out in the gym. If you have English-speaking TV channels at home, you can find them on the internet. Great, watch them. TV nowadays offers such a great range of programs that I think Almost anyone can have at least something they find interesting on TV. Group all of these English-speaking channels that you find interesting, group them all together, and as a challenge, try only watching these channels with or without subtitles for a week or a month. Also, remember to watch for fun. Don't force yourself to watch the boring stuff. You will hate learning if you make it a chore instead of a hobby.